Hello everyone, I'm Lalsa and welcome to my channel. Today, we'll be seeing something about assets, guys. So, when we say assets, we discussed in our previous videos, guys, what is the importance of assets. So, if you have not gone through that video, I suggest you to go through that video once. But to just give you a brief in this video, assets is where you can save some secured or confidential information within the orchestrator, and you will have to code your workflow in such a way that you will call these assets from the orchestrator and use the values within your workflow. Okay. So without further delay, let us see how to create an asset quickly and how to call it via our studio. So I'm at cloud.uipath.com. Just go to your orchestrator and let us create a new asset altogether. So I'm heading on my workspace and I'm going to assets. So as you see here, the assets are blank, which means there is no asset which has been created. So let us come here and let me show you what all options are available. You can either create a new asset or you can link it from other folders. For now, let us create a new asset. Once you click on it, it will immediately ask me for an asset name. So say suppose I would want to type in a asset called URL. Assume that I have an automation which will take input as a URL and I would want to save it as an asset. Okay, I gave the name as URL, and near the type, guys, you will basically have four different types. One is the text, which will accept the plain string. One is a boolean value, which will accept true or false. An integer, it's a number. And a credential type of asset, which means the username and password will be saved. Okay. So for now, let us keep that URL as a text type. So if you hover over it, it is telling you validation criteria for asset name field. Field is required. Field must have a maximum of 256 characters. Okay. And description is optional, guys, but I suggest you to have a description. So it is, if you see here, it is already prompting you something. So let us click on that. Saves the URL of a website. And here, let us take https colon acme.uipath.com. Okay, so assume that this is the URL. I'm saving it in an asset name called URL. Let us hit on create. As soon as you hit on create, you'll be able to see this pop-up called asset URL created successfully, and you can see that popping up here. URL saves the URL of a website. It is of type text, and this is the value. Okay. Now let us see how to call this asset from the UiPath Studio, because that is the whole purpose, right? You're saving it somewhere securely in the orchestrator, and during the workflow, you want to call it from there instead of hard coding it in the workflow or instead of saving it in your variable somewhere. Okay. The activity which is used for that is get asset. So you will be able to see an activity called get asset. Please drag and drop that here. Immediately, it will ask you for two parameters. One is orchestrator folder path. The second is the asset name, which is mandatory. Okay. So let us try selecting the orchestrator folder path. We have selected the workspace here, right? So I'm selecting this. And if you click here, it will automatically show you what all variables are there, assets are there in this particular workspace. So for now it is URL. So I am saving it as, I'm calling it by the name URL. Now once I have this, I will have to save that with a name, right? We all have names. Or say if you say Lalsa, I will respond. So similarly, when the bot is reading it and saving it in its memory, we will need to give it a name so that we can call it out. So I will hit on Control K and I will say site URL. Okay, I'm giving it a variable name. So now let us quickly try to print it and see. Message box. I'm trying to print it in a message box. So what is the name I gave here? I gave the name as site URL. So let me come here and print on site URL. So just to reiterate, what did we do till here? We went to the orchestrator, we went to my workspace, and we have created an asset here by clicking on add asset. After that, we gave the asset a name called URL, and we also gave a description. The asset is of the type text, and we also gave the value of it. Now we are trying to call this asset from our studio. So for that, we have used an activity called getAsset, and we have mentioned the orchestrator folder path and the asset name. We are saving the output of it in a variable called set URL, and we are trying to print it out. So let us see what it does. Before running it, let us rename the activity. So getAsset, trying to retrieve the URL, and message box. Let us rename it as printing the URL. Okay. So let us come back. We have renamed our activities as well. So here what did we do? We are practicing the good practices. We are trying to rename the activity so that it improves the user's readability. So let us run this workflow and see what it does for us. Perfect. So whatever we have saved in the orchestrator is being called here. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the demo. So this way you can save something in the orchestrator, call it from your studio, use this particular variable in any of the workflows you want. I hope you like this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and if you have some queries, please comment it. I'll try to answer as many as possible. Stay tuned for next videos on the orchestrators. Thank you.